18 years ago, thunder roared across the sky and the world changed forever. A massive tower tore through the city skyline as if it had always been there. But that wasn't the only thing that appeared. Strange gates glowing blue started popping up all over the streets, and from them, monsters poured out, like nightmares on parade, ruining everything. But just as chaos was about to swallow the city, they appeared. People, ordinary at first glance, who suddenly awakened to superhuman abilities. They were the first to stand against the monstrous tide, the ones who picked up their weapons and fought back. The world called them players. Every monster they smashed turned into a shower of gold and cash. Players weren't just fighters, they were walking jackpots, symbols of power and envy. And then there was him, a young man standing in a crowded guild office gripping two heavy bags. Unlike the chosen ones, he had no abilities, no supernatural gifts, just his hands, his feet, and the will to keep moving. A man in a sharp business suit gestured toward a nearby table. "Over there," the young man smiled, nodded, and carefully set the bags down. "Sorry for the wait," he said. Meanwhile, we see a car stood at the intersection, waiting for the traffic light to turn green. Nearby, our MC sat on a scooter, eyes locked on a giant poster on a building. It featured a young player from South Korea with unique abilities. In the image, he stood with a hand raised, summoning a glowing mass of energy. With a single move, he wiped out the orcs surrounding him, freezing them solid. He made it look easy, like he had cheat codes in real life. The guy lifted his helmet visor, staring, filled with curiosity. But before he could get lost in his thoughts, a car behind him honked loudly. "Hey, light's green, move it!" the driver yelled at him. Later that night, under a street lamp, he parked his scooter and walked to a red mailbox overflowing with letters. His heart pounded as he flipped through them. Credit notices, bills, school fees, but not the one he wanted. He sighed, closed his eyes, and muttered, "Shoulda known." Shaking it off, he stepped inside and called out, "I'm home!" His sister, Yu Jung, peeked out of her room with a smile. "Good job today," she said. Her brother glanced at her. "Why are you still up, homework?" she said, heading for the fridge. He turned to her. "Is Mom sleeping?" His sister glanced toward their mother's room and replied, "She just fell asleep. She's sleeping better than usual today." Hearing that, both siblings let out a small breath of relief. Our MC turned toward their mother's room. "I should give her a massage." Before he could take a step, his sister grinned wide and held up a small chocolate cake with the number 18 on it. "Happy birthday," she cheered. Our MC blinked in surprise. "Where did you get the money for this? You didn't use the money meant for clothes, did you?" His sister just smiled. "I have my own money too, you know." She pointed at the cake. "And if you don't eat it, I'll finish it myself. You know I love chocolate cake. It's from that famous shop too." He looked at her, but his eyes weren't on the cake. They were on her worn-out clothes. His chest tightened. "Yu-Jon," he muttered, patting her head. "Thanks," she laughed and held out an envelope with a heart sticker on it. "Before we eat, open this." Curious, our MC took the envelope and pulled out the letter inside. As soon as he read it, his eyes went wide. Yu-Jon burst into laughter at his reaction. It was an invitation. An official invitation from the Players Association. His hands trembled. "I wanted it to be a surprise," Yu-Jon said, wiping her teary eyes. "So I pulled it from the mailbox." Overwhelmed, our MC let out a shaky breath. Yu-Jon suddenly jumped forward, wrapping him in a tight hug. "You did it. You're gonna be a player." He hugged her back, a smile with tears in his eyes. Gigyu's eyes drifted towards their mother's room. His face hardened, the playful smile vanishing. He recognized this moment. This was it, he thought. A sense of grim determination settling over him. This was his chance to change everything. Outside, dark clouds slowly swallowed the stars. A new day arrived. The Korean Players Association building loomed over the city, a skyscraper so massive it almost seemed unreal. Our MC stood at the base, staring up with his mouth slightly open. It was overwhelming, but after a second he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. No time to get lost in emotions. This was just the beginning, he reminded himself. And without hesitation, he walked through the doors. We see an employee welcoming Gikyu. "Congratulations, Gikyu. You're officially a player now." A cheerful employee from the association greeted him with a bright smile. Gikyu, still feeling a little shy, smiled back and muttered a quick "thank you." She held out her hand. "Say tab. Your player stats will show up." Curious, he said it. A glowing window popped up, showing his name, level, and question marks by unique abilities. He frowned. "What's with the question marks?" The employee blinked in surprise before breaking into an excited smile. "Wow, congratulations. That means you have unique abilities that just haven't manifested yet." Gigyu's eyes widened. "I have unique abilities?" His hands trembling slightly as he stared at the status window. Unique abilities, something only a rare few players possessed. The employee gave an encouraging nod. Gikyu was still in shock, trembling. He had unique abilities. That meant he had a real chance to change everything. The employee smiled brightly. Your coach will be here soon to explain everything. She turned, expecting the coach, then her eyes went wide. Gikyu froze. He knew that face. Seokwoo, the legendary player, stood behind them. The guy from the posters. If it's not too much to ask, could I be his guide? Seokwoo asked the lady. Gikyu blinked. Me? I wasn't trying to listen, but I overheard you, Seokwoo said. The lady hesitated, then sighed. Technically, that's not allowed, but we'll make an exception. It's no problem. I can use my authority, Mr. Yu. I'm a pro manager, 10 years of experience, she said, smiling. Seokwoo thanked her for understanding. The scene changed. A huge portal stood there, swirling energy giving off a creepy glow. Gikyu froze, eyes wide. This is the tower entrance, he whispered. Seokwa, cool as ever, just said, shall we? Gigyu's face was serious as he stepped forward. They went into the portal. No need to worry, Seokwa said. Before Gikyu could say anything, a rustling sound made him look, surprised. Goblins. A whole bunch of them in the forest ahead. Are there always this many monsters on the first floor? Gikyu asked, his voice tight. Seokwoo remained unfazed. Sometimes, things pile up. Monsters gather over time. Gikyu looked confused. That sounds like a huge problem, Seokwoo grinned, drawing his sword. Not really, it just means I can teach you the basics a little faster. He then explained the test of 100 goblins, a challenge once used to measure a player's potential. The test had been banned due to its danger, as it targeted players below level 10, but in theory, it provided an accurate way to see how strong you are. If someone could take down 100 goblins within a set time limit without using skills, their potential could be ranked. Completing the test in 4 to 5 hours meant they were an advanced player. Finishing it in 2 to 3 hours earned them an A-rank title. Clearing it in just 1 hour signified an elite warrior with high-ranking abilities. Then, Seokwoo spoke again, his voice calm. But for someone with unique abilities, 10 minutes. Almost no one can do that, Seokwoo said. He moved fast, dodging the goblin's attacks like they were moving slowly. Then he grabbed a goblin's head, holding it tight. Gikyu watched, his mind racing. He's not just good, he's amazing. Seokwoo looked at his watch. 47 seconds. Gikyu ran to him, out of breath. How can anyone do that in 10 minutes? Seokwoo said. Normal players need years. You, with your special power, can do it in months. A purple flame burned behind him, showing his power. People like Gikyu could get strong really fast. Seokwoo walked to a frozen goblin. Do you know the Angela Guild? He asked. Gikyu nodded. Yeah, they have a young leader as their guildmaster, Seokwoo said. Most of them did the goblin test in less than 3 hours. But I want a better guild. I need the best players, especially those with special powers. Gigyu's mouth dropped open. Seokwool melted the ice around the goblin with magic. The goblin got up. Seokwool smiled. Let's start your first fight. He pointed at the goblin. Get ready. Watch how it moves. The goblin growled and attacked, swinging its axe. Watch the axe, Seokwoo said. Gigyu's face went serious. This is it. My chance to change everything. Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye-bye.